We've reached now our final speaker of the day, and I just wanted to kind of tell you a little bit about this guy. So my relationship with Chris Strub basically started because Pippa, down here in the red t-shirt, who wasn't going to social media marketing world, said to me that because I had to go and get a selfie with him, and that was it. So I managed to find him, however many thousands of miles away it was from where I live. I found him and got the selfie. It's just that she asked me to make sure that I looked sad, that she wasn't there. And I forgot that bit. Not that you weren't there, but I was just having such a great time in San Diego. Over a period of just a few days, I got to know Chris really well. Because like many events that you go to, and I know you've made loads of friends already today, you build relationships with people at these things. You talk to people, you share ideas, and you just share experience, I suppose, of the event as well. And it's just been great to get to know him and to get to know his story, which I'm sure he will relay in some part today. But if you know anything about Chris, you'll know that he was the first person to live stream in every 50 of the US states, including West Coastia, Murica, and Top Right, which is where he's actually from. That's a bit of an in-joke. He's got a great story to tell, and if you follow him on social media, you'll see the power of storytelling in his content, but also in the things that he does. But this is also about, genuine friendships and how they can be built with the power of social. Now, as an accomplished speaker, Marketed Live, it actually marks Chris's international speaking debut, and I am honored that he agreed to come over from New York to come and speak with us today. So I'd like to give an amazingly big, rapturous welcome, please, to Chris Strub. Get a stool back? Yeah. Throw a stool back in. Hey everybody, thanks so much for being here. Before I get going, I want to say thank you to Paul. Like you said, this is so incredibly humbling. This is actually my first time leaving North America. And so I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have come up, said welcome. Give yourselves a round of applause. And before I get going into my slides as well, I'm going to steal a little trick from a speaker that I met a couple months ago in Phoenix, Arizona, or as you would say, bottom left. So I'm going to turn around and we're going to shoot a little Instagram story real quick. But I want you guys to boo the hell out of me. We're going to pretend, and we're going to show my audience that I did a terrible job on stage today. So on the count of 3, I want you guys to just boo as loud as you can. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. So now we can get going. As Paul mentioned, my name is Chris Strub. I am the first person to live stream and Snapchat in all 50 US states. I did this in the summer of 2015 and volunteered with different youth-related nonprofit organizations in all 50 states. I call it 50 States, 100 Days. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it here in the slides to come. But most importantly, we're going to talk about why community has become such the most valuable asset of this entire project. I'm going to break down my 8 steps for you to build community. And you'll see here, a lot of this is going to be about building your so-called personal brand. But in speaking with Paul yesterday in the car, I want to also emphasize that these are definitely principles that you guys can apply to your businesses of all sizes as well. That's something we've talked all day long about, the intersectionality of these interactions and these scalable interactions that we can have with one another here at an event, but also between your business and your customers. And with each one of these steps, I'm going to give you an action step that you can take from right here as well, like Tim was talking about. I want you guys to leave here with actionable things that you can do and not just feeling
smiley and happy and listening to these theories and going home. So a bit about your participation. I love to see all of the undivided attention and everything, but I also do encourage you guys to use your devices to tweet, to share your experiences here with your audiences. Just do me a favor and make sure you tag me on Twitter. It's at Chris Strub. Should be able to see it there on the slides if I don't stand directly in front of the projector the whole time. Take pictures, take videos, share to your Instagram story, and I'm going to, is the mic off?
The mic's off.
Our next guest spent the last summer in 2015 documenting his travels across the United States on his Snapchat story feed. So here to tell us about the new book, 50 States, 100 Days, which chronicles his social media journey, is Chris Strub. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, this is exciting.
Yeah, well, we're very excited about this too. So tell us a little bit about what made you decide you wanted to go to all 50 states. Was it because you wanted to look at all the geotags? Why did you want to go through all 50 states?
I heard you guys talking about the filters before. That's definitely one benefit, but I think it was definitely much more about wanting to inspire people to get out and volunteer and make a positive difference in their communities, and also spread some valuable social media knowledge with a lot of these nonprofit executives and volunteers who may not feel as proficient in the technology as folks like us. Mm-hmm. So it was really a big learning experience on both sides to get a chance to see the world, but also to show a lot of these nonprofit folks what Snapchat and live streaming and all these social media technologies are all about.
So 50 states, 100 days. If I do my math correctly, is that 2 days in each state?
That's good math.
How quickly was this? How quick was this trip?
Sure. So we know here in the Northeast, some of the states are a little bit smaller, so you can squeeze them in one day after the next.
It's like I'm going through Texas and California.
Well, whoever scheduled this trip actually scheduled me a few more days in Hawaii, so I don't know how that happened to work out.
You missed a flight somewhere along the way.
Yeah, on average, 2 days per state. I would spend about half a day with each nonprofit organization and create some live video content, some Snapchat content, and then right back on the road.
So there you go. But before I even move on here, that clip was a little bit about me and the journey. I know it's kind of a complicated thing to digest, but what I've really learned since taking this trip, and a couple of you guys asked me at the pub last night, like, oh, Chris, what did you learn during this journey? What was your big lesson that you learned? For me, it's not about the travel. And as we've talked about all day long, I know Hannah was talking about this as well, you don't talk about yourself. You talk about what the meaning is to your audience. And I think the real reason that I'm here on stage to share this story with you guys is because of the impact that this has had on so many people, including some in the room. The community that I've been able to build around visiting 50 states, 100 days, is really what has resounded and really made an impact on the social media sphere over the last couple of years. So I have 3 screenshots of people who have actually spent their time not only reading the book, which in and of itself is an honor and a privilege, that someone would take the time to read your book, but also taking that time to record themselves speaking to the camera and speaking about the content that you've created. And I think that's really a mark and really a demonstration of how deeply it impacts people. And if you want, you go on YouTube tonight, on Facebook, whatever, you can watch these reviews and really feel that impact. What's really been incredible to me to realize is that, as Chris was saying this morning, it's never about the numbers. It's never about the total number of views. It's about the impact that your content can have on people. And for me, that's really what it's all about, is how I want to try and be your best friend. I want to be the reason that you open up social media every day. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you can do that with your audience. And it starts, and again, the yellow slides that you're going to see are going to be your action steps, or I want you to write down actually take action. But these 8 steps we're going to walk through are going to be in theory. And it starts with number 1, and each and every step after this ties back to this first step, which is to set impossibly big goals. So for me, those big goals were, quite literally, to live stream and Snapchat in all 50 US states. And a lot of you guys are savvy business people, and you might say, well, that's not really a business goal, is it, Chris? No, it's not. But really the goal was to create an epic story that would live on forever. By creating something that I knew that would be memorable and really involve people around the country, like I mentioned, so a lot of people who aren't involved in the social media space, this story that was, again, 3.5 years ago, really continues to have an impact today. Executed on that trip, just did it, right? As we were talking about with Nike, as Ross was talking about Nike, we pronounce it Nike, so just get out and do it, get started. But you also have to envision what success looks like. So that's your first action step today, is I want you to think really hard whether it's your personal brand, your business, or both. Think about what success looks like for you. Not just today, not just tomorrow, but we get so caught up in this avalanche of content and these tweets that are coming in every day, and what's the latest changes in Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat. It doesn't really matter to you. It doesn't even really matter to me. What matters is how do these changes affect and influence the way that I can communicate with those people in my community. So you have to think really big picture, and if your business hasn't done this, you need to do that first. Okay, so this is more than social media. This is more than even marketing. This is what do you want to be when your business grows up? Think about how people describe your business and your brand when you're not around. For me, I'm the 50 states, 100 days guy. It rolls right off the tongue. It's easy. It's simple to remember, right? That's why I wear a yellow hat on stage, right? You're going to remember the yellow hat guy. You might not remember my name, but you're going to remember that brand. I'm going to talk a little bit more about my logo and stuff here in a second. But most importantly, the big question you want to ask, and this is some, can I curse, Paul? This is some deep shit. How do you want to be remembered when you die? You know, that all of these people that you're connecting with through social media, in many cases, I'd say in 99% of the cases, you never have a chance to actually connect with them, to meet them in real life. And I'm so grateful to meet all of you guys, and especially, again, the SM besties here at the table in the middle of the room, flying from all around Europe to be here where we can make that real life connection. But remember that what you share is who you are to your audience, to your brand. So when your brand goes away, how do you want to be remembered by your audience, by your community? And how do you want them to talk about you when you're not there? Now you need to start by being humble. Humble, authentic, and influenceable. But let's start with being humble. I can't believe I'm standing on this stage right now. This is incredible. This is unbelievable. I'm just in awe. I'm sort of in shock a little bit. I'm just a guy who met a guy from the UK in February, and I said, hey, I want to come speak at your event. And he said, okay, let's have a drink and talk about it, and we'll make it happen. And now here I am. I'm not some special rock star, superstar, none of this stuff, right? And I think any one of you guys here in the audience could come up here and do a presentation, probably do a better job than me. I got to at least pick up the accent to come on stage next time, but it's about being humble and just remembering that you are one of your community, right? And so I want you guys, I know we're getting late in the day here, so I'm going to do something interesting, and I'm going to ask you guys to stand up for a moment. Everybody stand up, if you can, if you are able. And I want you to take a peek. I want you to take a peek at that logo there on my shirt, okay? And you guys have seen that on my hat. And I didn't tell Paul I was going to do this, but I want you guys to put your feet shoulder width apart. I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to just extend your arms out, take a deep breath, and just... Okay. Whew. Thank you very much. That is what I call the I am here pose. And I want you to think about that. The fact that you are here at this event, we're at Marketed Live. We are all here together. We're part of a new community. You're going to have people here that you can connect with. And I want you to be humble and think about not just trying to connect with the speakers or the sponsors. I want you to make sure that before the end of the day, you also connect with the people that are sitting at the table next to you. Get their contact information, because we're all here together in this. And now I want to be a little authentic, okay? How many of you guys know who Gary Vee is? Gary Vaynerchuk? Okay, that's a good chunk. That's probably the most hands raised so far today with the, do you know this person? This post here by Gary Vee stood out to me more than anything else, where he says, everyone else sucks too. They might just be better at faking it than you. I don't know about you guys, but when I graduated from college, I went to Binghamton University. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. 10 years later, 12 years later, I still don't know what I'm doing. You know, but being up here on stage shows you, and it emphasizes the fact that maybe I'm doing something right. You know, and by connecting with people one-on-one, and we're going to go back and talk a little bit more about that. I know Vicki Taylor was just talking about that a moment ago too. By just being humble, being authentic, but remembering why we're here in the first place. Social media is about connecting with the people around you and driving conversations. Threw an April Ludgate quote up there too. How many of you guys know what Parks and Rec is? Is that a thing in the UK? All right, a few. All right, good. And so this quote came out of an interview that I did with my friend Ai Zhang a few months ago. Your willingness to be influenced is the biggest step towards being influential on your own. Okay, so if you're in this room and you think you have it all figured out, I hate to break it to you, but you're wrong. And one thing that I've really loved sitting at the speakers table in the back is seeing all of the speakers back there just actively listening, writing things down, communicating with one another and saying, I'm going to go put that into action. I'm going to take that lesson that I learned today and put that into action. And so if you think that your business exists in a shell and you're stuck in what you do and you think you have it all figured out, you're wrong. Sorry to say it, but you're wrong. And so that's why it's so important, I think, to consider what you are consuming on a day-to-day basis. I talked to Tim about this morning at breakfast, right? What sort of podcast do you watch? Who do you watch on YouTube? Who do you subscribe to? What are the inputs that are coming into your brand on a day-to-day basis? What is it that you're listening to, right? We think so much about how much sleep we get, or are we drinking water? What are we eating, right? And of course, what we put into our body matters. But I want you to think about that from a digital perspective as well, that what you are consuming matters, for better or for worse. So if you're watching a bunch of junk on Facebook every day, it's much more difficult for you to feel inspired and to feel prepared to create something that's going to be valuable, informative, and interesting to your customers. It just is. And so there are a lot of people that are here today that do a great job of this. Andrew and Pete were just talking about it, about with Atomic and how their podcast stands out and it's different. These are 5 people that I connect with on a regular basis. And again, I'm going to show you here in the steps to come how you can really make these relationships incredibly valuable for you. But I want you to maybe take a picture of this screen, or we'll tweet out all of these names. Roberto Blake, Brian Fanzo, who again apologizes for not being here last year. I promise you he's awesome. If you get a chance to see him live, he's absolutely fantastic, one of my best friends. Mark Schaefer. How many of you guys know who Mark Schaefer is? Look at that. That's outstanding. So you guys have read the book Known? We're shrugging and saying, right, that the principle for those who haven't read it is that you can't make an impact on someone until they know who you are. You have to put yourself out there first, and then you get to the point where people decide if you're good or bad at what you do. But until they know your name, then they can't make that decision at all, right? So just being known is such a huge step. My friend Bella Vasta is a rising speaker. She's based out of Phoenix, and she talks a lot about using Facebook groups. And as I say, I try and be authentic. I can't do half the stuff that Andrew and Pete can, which is why I asked that question a minute ago. Like, I'm still trying to figure all this stuff out, as we all are, right? But we're all working towards that journey, and these are the sort of people that you can connect with to help you. And how many of you guys know Joel Comm? Okay, pretty good. Make sure that's another guy that you want to connect with. He's a multi-time author, speaker, just a wonderful, wonderful person. And what's really changed my approach on this industry over the last couple years is in that meeting with all 5 of these people, you really find that the speakers and the thought leaders and stuff are incredibly accessible. But the problem is we get stuck sometimes thinking that if we're not going to events, we're not going to be able to connect with them. And that's not true. So I want you to think for now, this is action step 2, and I'm foreshadowing towards the next one, which is, first of all, I want you to think about who the people are that you connect with in your industry, like I mentioned there on the last slide. Who are the 5 people that you really look up to, and are you prioritizing listening to and engaging with them? But then I want you to identify and assimilate with your tribe. And when the panel a moment ago talked about this, I was like, yes, I got this one coming up too, right? That before you focus on starting and building your own community, look at and examine and become an active part of the other communities that are out there. And there are so many, and I'm going to list some of them for you on the next slide. But learn from what these other people are doing. Take in the mistakes that other people are making and go from there. And then you want to start to try and create your own Facebook groups or try and become the leader in your space. But you're not going to become the leader until you become a great follower. And I think for me, that's been a huge part of it, is when I jump in a live stream, I want that person who's live streaming to say, oh boy, Chris Strub is here, and then I'm going to add the most value to that conversation, and I'm going to contribute actively and support that person as they're going along. It's a really cool feeling when you jump in and someone says your name and they say, oh man, Chris Strub is here, this is great, blah, blah, blah. It's awesome. And then when you try and go live stream, or you try and create a piece of content that you have a lot of passion about, then that person wants to come back and support you. Quite honestly, I think that's a big reason why I'm up here. And again, that's celebrating the wins of your colleagues. Right? I just did a video a few minutes ago with my friend Ben Roberts, who is publishing a book about his marketing buzzword podcast. And so I encourage all of you guys to make sure you connect with Ben. I guarantee you he'll be at the pub afterwards, as I hope many of you guys are as well. So again, Facebook groups, Twitter chats, hashtag communities like the SM Besties, right? And of course, Marketed Live. Comment sections even on Instagram and YouTube, right? How can you bring the most value in the comments, right? And as I mentioned, live streams as well. My pal Stephanie Liu, right there, she runs a Facebook group of her own. She does a live stream show called Lights Camera Live, which is just fantastic. And I've become friends with her by commenting and engaging and sharing that content. And so what I really encourage you guys to do here in action step number 3, I'd love for you maybe to join a Twitter chat. How many of you guys have done a Twitter chat before? Okay, that's a good portion of hands. I'd say it should be everybody, because there are a lot of people here who have connected with one another through Twitter chats. My personal favorite is Twitter Smarter, and we have a number of ambassadors here, including Zela from Slovenia, who is part of the Twitter Smarter squad. 2 p.m. Eastern time, so I got to put my UK hat on. That would be 7 p.m. here. So that's a nice, have a pint. 6 p.m. Damn, sorry. Do you guys do daylight savings time too? Does the time change? All right. And also join a Facebook group and introduce yourself. And if you're looking for a fun one, I do have my own Facebook group. It's called Social with Strub. You can find it at socialwithstrub.com. And the point is really to get you guys more comfortable using video and building relationships, connecting with others from around the country and around the world on social media. But you may find other groups are more valuable to you. Jen's Trends in social media is Jen Herman. She's an awesome Instagram creator. Live Video Marketing Mastermind is going to be Owen Video. And again, I'll tweet out all of these links if you guys want to check those out. Social Media Strategist with Stephanie Liu, and of course, more love to the Atomic guys in the back. Just phenomenal stuff that they do. Now, here's where it gets tricky. A lot of marketers will tell you to focus on what you do best. Pick the one channel that you like the most and just do that. And I think that's a great way to get started. But I think there's a lot of people in the room here as well who are beyond that point of getting started. And so I encourage you to be platform agnostic. I encourage you to at least have a presence on a bunch of different social media channels. And most importantly, listening and engaging on these channels is more important than trying to create content on every channel. Put your ear to the ground and listen to what other people are saying about you, about your business, about your brand on Instagram, on Twitter, on Snapchat, on Facebook. There's so many different tools out there. I don't even have time to list them all, to collect that data, collect that information, and understand what the conversation that is happening out there about your brand already is. And we've talked a little bit today about user-generated content as well, that you may be able to leverage and contact those people, and for a very low budget, be able to create some incredible content that really represents what your brand is really about and not what you think it is about. That's a picture of my friend Chelsea Pites, another great person to connect with. She's based in Phoenix, Arizona. And I love this quote she gave at an event a couple months ago. Stop contenting and start commenting. Right? I'm not telling you to stop making content altogether, but you really need to start shifting the balance of where you're spending your time. And I loved the slide that Paul showed this morning too in the opening talk about all the bar graphs, the line graphs that show you like how many of you guys are going to spend more time on Facebook this year and spend more time on YouTube this year. And that worried me because I know we already all spend a lot of time on these platforms, and it's intimidating to think that you have to spend more time. But I think when you start to think differently about how you can apply your brand to the audience that's out there that's looking for that content from you, instead of just making it about me, you have the opportunity to make a much deeper impact and let those people tell your story for you. One thing I really love to do, and this is a trick, I wrote an entire blog post about this, so remind me to tweet that afterwards as well, is when you see, and this is part of my newspaper background also, when you see content on one platform, you can get a lot of value out of that and build it back towards your own brand by sharing it to other platforms. Now, of course, you want to be careful about how you do this, so you want to always give credit to the sort of things that you're seeing. But I love when someone shares something on Instagram stories and they're not on Twitter, because now I can screenshot what they've done, go on Twitter and say, man, Christine Gritman just created this awesome Instagram story. Make sure you go check that out. Tag a few of your friends who you think would be interested in that sort of content. And now I've deepened my relationship with Christine by sharing her content, by demonstrating that this is something that gives me value. And now I can give that value back. And as Gary Vee would say, 5149, right? The thank you economy. I hope in time that that comes back. And when I see friends flying in from around Europe, that's a pretty good sign that this system works. So you see some of the screenshots up there. I also love live tweeting books, podcasts. I know Hannah is back there listening as well. It's another great trick when you're listening to a podcast, if you're not doing it while you're running or washing the dishes or whatever, if you have an opportunity to actively listen to a podcast and then tweet out the valuable information within that podcast, now you're actually showing that podcaster and that guest that you're listening. And you know, for me, I love being on podcasts. I got invited to a podcast today. If you guys have one, I'd love to be on it for you. But when you're tweeting at a podcaster and at that guest, that's just another way for you to deepen and build that relationship with both of those people at the same time. Trust me, it works. And so my fourth action step, start commenting, right? Set aside some time each week to leave at least 10 comments on accounts that you really look up to, right? Make a list. Set a calendar alert. Go to Instagram, type in those people's names. If they're not showing up on your algorithm, screw the algorithm, right? Find the people that you're looking for. And what's funny about algorithms is when you search for Andrew and Pete on Instagram and you go comment on their stuff, all of a sudden the algorithm says, this guy must really like Andrew and Pete. And all of a sudden that algorithm starts to reflect those choices that you are making. You're making social media work for you. And surface value, like I said, take screenshots of things that you think provide you value and move them forward. Bring them into another arena. Go the other way. If you see a really great tweet today at Marketed Live, take a screenshot of that, put it on your Instagram story. Tag the person who tweeted it, and now you're bringing their content to a whole new audience in a way that really feels authentic and engaged and genuine. And again, as I talk about this, I know a lot of this sounds like it's from a personal branding perspective, but for each of you, again, I encourage you to think about that goal number one. What does success look like for you? And if building a community will help you get there, if you can identify those people that are talking about what you love and what you appreciate, what your brand is about, and you can show that your brand supports what they're doing, even with a simple retweet, that can mean the world to them. Now, I said number one might be most important, but number five might be most important, to be honest with you. And that is to demonstrate gratitude. And I put Gary Vee up here as well. And we've heard this theme throughout the day as well. Scaling the unscalable is where all the action is. I come to conferences, I feel like my head's going to explode, to be honest with you. You get so many tweets and so many interactions and engagements, and people come up and give you a hug. They send you DMs. Gosh, that's awesome. It's a great feeling. It's immensely unscalable, to the point that, you know, you need some Advil by the end of the day, or you know, a couple pints probably to come. But what could possibly be more valuable than demonstrating gratitude to your audience? There are billions of people on social media. There are billions of brands out there. And as we talked about this morning with the Marcus Sheridan theories, Chris Marr was talking about this. People have choices. I can't count how many speakers applied to come up here at Marketed Live. There's so many choices out there. So what makes you stand out can be the principles that we just talked about, surfacing value and all those things. But the gratitude that you show, I think, is by far the most important thing. So again, thank you guys for having me today. Thank you again to the sponsors. I'm not done. I'm not like looking for an applause line. But thank you again all for your attention and for sharing the messages within this presentation that bring value to you. And so I want to add to that, I want you to demonstrate gratitude publicly, okay? I want you to how many of you guys have heard of Jeff Goins? A couple people, right? His book is unbelievable. It's called Real Artists Don't Starve. And my favorite principle from this Jeff Goins book is to practice in public. So is it great to send a DM to your audience, to your customers, and say, thank you so much, this is great? Absolutely. But when you do that in public, now everybody else can see what you're doing. And so last year we started this thing called Video Reply Day. And I'm going to show you a quick video here. This is about 60 seconds. This is from February 21st of last year, where I started using video publicly on Twitter to communicate with a certain number of people. And you'll see how sort of roughshod this is.
Zayla, welcome to Huntington High School. Bet this is the first time you have been to Long Island here in beautiful but overcast and cold and getting colder Long Island, New York. So Twitter Video Reply Tuesday was born approximately 30 minutes ago from the fact that my fingers are freezing while I'm going on this walk, and I wanted to tweet with people, but literally couldn't do it with my fingers because they're frozen. And now my lips are starting to freeze too, so these videos are going to start to get more and more awkward. But hey, let's make it a thing. Every Tuesday, starting today, but next Tuesday, the Tuesday after, let's rock and roll, let's do it. So if you get a chance, send me a Twitter video reply back. Let's keep the conversation going. So this is fun. This literally has been fun for the last half an hour, at least now until my fingers are like, until I can get them unfrozen. Then it'll be even more fun. Cheers.
And I apologize. I'm so awkward and just kind of myself all the time, but this is who I am. But I didn't know who Zayla was last February. I mean, we kind of knew each other, but the way that and Zayla is in the crowd, by the way. She came from Slovenia, so thank you so much for being here. I think we would all agree that communicating through video on social media has so strongly accelerated and galvanized these friendships that we've made around the world. But again, this isn't about me, this is about you. How can you apply these principles to your business? How can you galvanize the relationships that you have with your customers, with your audience? So what I want you to do here in action step 5, and I'm going to start to speed up a little bit because I do see that clock ticking. I want you to record just some videos, just like that. You saw me freezing my butt off back in New York. Record a few videos and reply to people in your niche. You know, you can go back and find the Mark Schaefer's and the Brian Fanzos of the world. Send them a video. Think about the interactions that you're having here today at Marketed Live, and think about how you can digitize those, do it in public, and just watch the magic happen. It really works. And it's a great way to show that you are a super fan. And if you're trying to build relationships conversely with a business, this is a terrific way to do so. Make sure you use the hashtag Video Reply Day as well. Today is actually Tuesday, which we would consider Video Reply Day. So if you did this afternoon, it would work out great. I want you to think, now step 6, to collaborate generously. You know, I've done all these things. I traveled around the country. I've worked on all these with these different brands and everything. The single biggest thing that ever built my brand was a series of collaborations that I did on Snapchat, where I did takeovers on Snapchat for 50 consecutive days. And you can see some of the screenshots there. But the key in collaborating is understanding who you're collaborating with and delivering delivering value to their audience, right? And so again, this is something that I do as sort of a solopreneur, as a speaker, you know, as sort of this traveling marketer. But you can absolutely collaborate with other brands around you, especially if they're not your competitors. Think about the partnerships that you can make on social media, and think of the ways that you can bring to light and share value with their audience and vice versa. These videos are fun, by the way. I didn't have time to put them in here, but if you want to check out people making fun of me for 50 consecutive days, it was awesome. So do a collaborative live video with a friend. Maybe here in the Concrete Cube, we'll record the video and then we'll post it later on. But before you leave today, I encourage you to speak with your friends. Speak with someone that you meet today. Or come up and find me and say, Chris, hey, what did you think of the conference? What did you learn today? Who was your favorite speaker? You know, deliver value collaboratively. Ask that person to share it on their channels as well, and all of a sudden you're tapping into that great big audience that they have as well. I say great big. It may not be big at all, but if you can become, as we were talking about, delivering value in the comments, right? If someone is watching, they're listening, and of course they're also creating their own content, that is where these connections are made. Don't forget to share it across different channels as well. We were talking about servicing value. And this is where I need to open up a little bit more too. I really hope each and every person here respects everyone else's journey. And when I talk about 50 states, 100 days, I used to march up and be like, hey, I'm the 50 states guy, and just think that I could be that entertainer, right? I'm like a clown show, like a circus act. But what I've learned when I speak about community is that it's not about me at all. It's about the value that it brings to the people that are watching. And I haven't shared this even on my social media channels. 2018 has been kind of a difficult year for me. In January, my mom got hit by a car. So she broke her leg real bad, and that was really tough. And then in June, my stepmom died of cancer. And then 2 weeks ago, my stepdad had triple bypass surgery back in the States. And so, again, I don't go out of my way to speak about these things on social media. Maybe I should more. But I hope that everyone watching this or listening knows that for me, I consume content from people like Andrew and Pete because it makes me feel better. Because we all in this room, every single person, we have stuff in our backgrounds. We have stuff in our lives that we try not to talk about, but that's really what we're doing, right? A lot of people look at social media as escapism, and I hate that. So more importantly, I want you to think about the value that your brand brings to your audience and understand, even if you're not getting the views or the likes, right? Think about the value that that smile can bring to people. And this is why I'll go live on Facebook and have 3 or 4 people watching, but if I'm making that person's day, if I'm making that person better, if I'm giving tangible value to somebody by doing that, then how is that not worth my time, especially if that person is somewhere around the world? This is an incredible world that we live in. And the technology at our fingertips is much more important than just trying to sell some more widgets or whatever we think the purpose of our business is. And so do we have this video in there? I'm going to show you a real quick video here from my friend Mario Armstrong. And I'm going to let him sort of tell this story here, but again, this plays into the idea of respecting everyone's, is it in there? Might be after that one. All right, close your eyes. I'm giving away all the rest of the slides. Is it after this? Oh! Well, we'll see if that video's in there. I'll play it for you. Okay, so you can open your eyes now. I'll retell the story quickly. I want you to remember, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, that you're never just anything. Okay? No matter who you are, no matter what your role is, there are a lot of people here in red t-shirts who make Marketed Live possible, right? And we see Paul here up on stage speaking and interviewing the panel and everything. But Paul would be the first one to tell you that without all of the volunteers here, everyone on his team, there would be no Marketed Live, right? And so you want to keep that in mind with your audience, with your customers as well. Think about the value that you're delivering. And Mario's video might pop up here in a moment. But your worth is not determined by social media engagement or especially vanity metrics. I like to measure worth in the strength of the hug that I get from Irish Irene when I meet her for the first time. When someone comes up and sees you at an event, or they rush into your business, or they call you, they're the first person to phone you up when you post a new product or service or something. That's where the real value is measured, right? What is the passion that people have about your brand? And it may not be a big number. There's so many speakers out there who have way more followers than I do, trust me. But it's about that intensity of relationship that you have. Social media is not a binary thing, right? There are people here in this room that I follow today, they follow me, that's great. But my hope in being up here on stage, my hope in being here this week, my first time outside of North America, is to be your favorite person that you follow on social media. And I know that's a big thing to ask, but if you know me, you know I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to help you get there, right? I'll send you a book, right? I'll be on your podcast. I'll wear your t-shirt if you send it to me. All of the, whatever it is. What can I do for you to make you feel that I'm in that upper echelon, right? And that's where I think all of our brands need to be focusing. And I always try and semi-close with this, that this is my favorite quote that I talk about all the time on social media. This is my friend Joe Wilson. Joe Wilson TV on Twitter. That we are all famous to a few people. And when you let that soak in for a moment, when you realize that your brand is more than just what you're trying to sell, and you realize that you have this intensity of emotion for people, even if you might not realize it at the time, you might not know it right now, But we're all in business to try and make our customers' lives better in some capacity. Whatever we sell, whatever we create, the golden tickets that we're giving out to try and brighten these new students' days, that's making someone's day, that's making someone's week. And so when you remember that you have that power with what you say, you're going to be a lot more likely to want to use that power and to yield it for positivity and for positive change and for good, and not just to sell, right? As Andrew talked about, selling comes second. So the last action step here is just to be good to people. I see the time ticking here, but step number 8, it's a joke. There is no step number 8. Don't forget step number 1, that all of these things that I've spoken to you about today, they all have to tie back to what success looks like for you, okay? Your success is going to be defined differently than my success, right? We're all trying to sell something. We're trying to get subscribers. I would encourage you, please don't measure your success in terms of social media vanity metrics, because that's not what it's about. Again, regardless of what business you're in, it's about that impact that you can have on your customers, whatever that might look like. But you have to get started. That's why I put Yoda here on the back slide here. This is also the opening slide to 50 States, 100 Days, the film. And thank you guys who came out yesterday to see it. Who saw the film with me yesterday? Who are you guys in the room? Thank you guys so much. That really meant the world to me as well. But I have 10 seconds. Oh, there's the video. Can I show the video?
Hey, what's up, everybody at Marketed.live in Nottingham, UK. I'm Mario Armstrong, host and creator of The Never Settle Show. It's a web show all about helping you pursue your passions and really understanding the steps to make it happen. One day, I was walking onto set, and I met a new person. I always introduce myself to everybody on set. We were shooting a commercial. It's a whole bunch of new people. I said, hello, sir, what's your name? He said, my name is Justin. And I said, what do you do? He said, well, I'm just a production assistant. I said, whoa, wait, you're never just anything. Do not belittle your value. I don't care what position you're at now. That's not the position you want to be at tomorrow. So you have to bring everything to your position today so that you can get to where you want to be tomorrow. I put my arm around him. I walked him around the set. I started asking all the other team members, how important is it for the production assistant? And they started giving him all types of responses he never expected. His value went up. He understood his role. And I want you to understand to never, never say just anything. Peace.
That's a pretty good note to end on, right? Thank you guys so much. My name is Chris Strub. I'm so grateful to all of you guys for having me here today. I will leave you on this farewell slide that I do have a course that is, of course, blurred out there, but my website is teamstrub.com. I set up a special discount code, Marketed Live, so it's nice and easy to remember, where you guys can save 75% on, and it teaches you how to be sort of platform agnostic. I know it's a challenge for a lot of us to think about how we can be versatile from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram to Snapchat to YouTube. That's really what the course is about, and again, this exclusive discount expires tomorrow, Marketed Live. So, Paul, again, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed the presentation, and maybe I'll see you guys next year.